Ladies and gents, Rocco Yaps, and today I Yap Cinema. Today we're gonna be talking about, in my opinion, one of those movies that is not only really good, but it's so good that it's like it should be left alone and should not get a sequel, especially if they plan on doing terrible things with the sequel. Now this is gonna be a first video. Before we get into the movie and everything, I want to explain that this is gonna be like a series of for a new playlist that I'm gonna make. It's gonna be titled "Unnecessary Bad Sequels." It's just movies where, in my opinion, they're not only terrible, but I just think that they shouldn't have been made. I think the first movie should have been the final product, and my reasons as to why. So, yeah, this is gonna be a new playlist. If you guys love the movie format, I'm sorry, but I just think it's a little better if I do individual movies. So this is gonna be the new form for not only the bad sequels, but also for anything that I create, like the already established underrated playlist that I have and other playlists that I have down the future in mind in creating for the channel. Just know that it's gonna be one movie per video for the sole purpose that I just feel like I could talk a lot better about these movies as to why they are bad, the few things they did good, why the first one was so good, everything, why it went terrible. And I could give more detail and more explanation from my point as to why these movies are what they are. So, moving on, it's going to be one movie per video in every platform of all the playlists that I have. But with that being said, today we're talking about the iconic musical Grease. Now I know you fuckers don't give a fuck, but a little thing out there. I'm not. I'm not somebody that's really too fond of musicals. I love movie. I love cinema. I love TV shows and everything that it goes on in creating these films and these TV shows. But even in the final products, there are genres that, in my taste, in my palate, it's a little harder to swallow. Kind of like music. I love music so much, I can't find myself limiting myself from good music and good artists just because of a genre. But I will admit, for me, it's a little harder to get into country. Not saying I'm completely out of it. There are some that I do, you know, don't play frequently. I don't play at all. But if I hear it, I fuck with. Same thing with musicals. There are very rare musical movies out there that I watch and I enjoy. And Grease is one of those that I enjoy so much that I could play it a lot of times in the background, or I could rewatch it a shit ton of times. You know, your little Rocco when he was fucking younger. I didn't have anything, call me uncle or whatever, but streaming services wasn't a fucking thing like that. Wi-Fi wasn't like as like normal to just have. So all I had was this Xbox 360 that I was lucky in getting on Black Friday, and a DVD of Grease. And Grease was something that I could play on demand if I wanted to. Like anytime I wanted to watch a movie and I felt like watching Grease, I could play it. So that's why I kind of fell in love with the movie, I believe so. So, with that being said, the genre is musical, drama, romance, comedy, and all that is tied into teen. So, teen comedy, romance, and drama, and all that. They made this fucking movie with a $6 million budget, and not only did it make a crazy amount of like profit in the sense that, as you can see, it made $360 million, but also a little fucking fun fact for you fools out there. For a while, it was the highest grossing musical ever. Like it was the musical that earned the most amount of money ever for a while. Its release date was in June 16, 1978. So yeah, Travolta, all these fucking actors are old as shit now. They were grown as. My mother wasn't even fucking grown. She was like She was a young little kid, like when the time this shit came out, you know. She was still in elementary by the time Travolta was a grown ass adult. But this was directed by Randall Kleiser, starring, like I said, John Travolta, Olivia Newton, Stockard Channing, and Jeff Conway. Now, this came out in '78, but it takes place in the '50s, as you can see by like the greasers and the way they dress and the cars. But what about it? What about the movie? So the plot about this movie, for those who don't know, you know, or for those who have seen the movie but kind of forgot, a little rundown, a little quick rundown. Danny Zuko is this cool, badass greaser guy. You know, he's super cool. He's a Chad, but he falls in love with this girl who's visiting from Australia. She was born and raised in Australia. She has family over here in the States. She visits them over a summer. Her and Danny, they they like meet and they fall in love with each other. They're so in love. They think they're soulmates. And the beginning of the movie actually starts off with that, them at a beach, and it's supposed to be that they spend the whole summer together, but the beach is like the beach scene in the beginning, opening the movie, is their last day together because she has to go back to Australia. And it's a bit of a twist because Danny, when you're seeing him with her in the beginning of the movie, he looks like a super nice, clean, normal high school guy, super respectful. And then when the movie starts, you see that he's the opposite. So it's kind of assuming that he was either not being he wasn't pretending to be the cool guy or keep the image up. He was just being more himself and he was being normal and comfortable with her. But he, on a day to day, is known as the cool guy, so he keeps the cool guy image and he acts the way he does. But yeah, change of plans occurs. She doesn't leave back to Australia and instead she stays with her family, her relatives that live here in the States. And they decide she could finish high school here. But that causes problems because, like I said, Danny, even before meeting her, was already had that reputation, that rep of being the cool guy greaser who's the leader of the T-Birds. And, you know, he's the bad boy, rebel, playboy guy, fucks bitches, all that shit. So it's kind of the drama comes from that, of her being like, this is not the same Danny that I fell in love with. And Danny trying to keep his cool guy image, but at the same time wanting to be with Sandy the way he was with her during the summer, and having the balance and find whether he wants to give up the cool guy image or he wants to give up Sandy. And that's the whole point of the movie. So it's very nice, it's very good. What made it a classic in the sense of like what made the movie good? To me, the key things are the musical moments. Like I said, it's a problem for me to even come and watch a musical, even though I'll sit there and watch it. But it's hard. It's already hard enough for me to kind of want to watch a musical. But the musical moments and the flow of it works very well. Like when when they start the singing, like musical moments of a scene, it's very organic. It feels very like natural that okay, this is a perfect segue to a musical scene, and the way they flow out of it is perfect as well. And then the flow of it in the sense of like, you know, it doesn't disrupt the storytelling and what's going on in the movie. It's not like they're chilling talking about one thing and then they just start fucking singing out of nowhere and about some shit that doesn't really correlate to the story and then they just go back like nothing happened. You know? It actually goes with it. For example, the first musical of the movie is you know, they're back in school, summer's over, they're back in school, and Sandy is friends with Frenchie, and Frenchie's a member of the Pink Ladies, who's kind of like the female version of the T-Birds, and she's kind of hanging out with them because, like I said, she hangs out with Frenchie, and Frenchie's one of the members, and they're talking about the guy she met because she hasn't told them that the guy's name was Danny Zuko. So she's just kind of talking about this dream guy, and at the same time that she's talking about that, they're asking Danny in the other side of the school his T-Bird homies are asking him like, "What the fuck did you do this weekend, homie?" And that fool was like, "Oh, I was with the girl," but he's talking more in like, the cool badass guy way instead of Sandy. How Sandy's saying how it was very romantic. He was a sweet gentleman who was very thoughtful. He's kind of more talking about it in the sense of like, oh, she was so fucking fine. She was hot. We were getting it down, stuff like that. And then it goes into the singing of like the perspective that she's saying how it was, of how it was romantic, and the perspective of him trying to keep up the cool guy image. He's singing it in a different way, and they're dancing and shit. And they're fucking tweaking in the background and stuff. But that's that's what I mean. It flows very nice. The story and the drama for the characters, you have to keep in mind like it's not gonna be something super crazy. It's about teenagers, even though all these fools are like closer to middle age, but it's about teenagers. So the drama is that, like I said, Danny finding out that Sandy's actually staying here for the whole school year, him being so in love with her that he wants to be with her, and he wants to be with her the exact same way that he was with her during the summer, but feeling the peer pressure of schools, like of high school drama stuff, and having to keep up the cool guy reputation that for many years he's been having and he's been known for. Now, the separate friend groups and the moments when they were together, that's a keynote for me because if it's really good. Like when the T-Birds are being T-Birds and they're hanging out and they're dealing with their drama and their friend group dynamic, it's very good. And also for the Pink Ladies, um, their chemistry together as chicks that hang out and that are friends and they've known each other for years, it really does flow, you know, because they're in that point where well, at least I don't know about you guys, but I've been where you're around that age where it's like you're not a kid anymore, but you're not an adult anymore. You're in that weird gray area where it's like you're not just a regular teen, you're not just a young teen kid, but you're not an adult yet. And you're in that gray area, and sometimes you have that gray area conversations and topics that you kind of fuck with and don't fuck with. So it felt very natural in that sense. Um, but then they also have the subplots. Like for example, one of the subplots is the car, the racing scene. How Danny's homie fucking Kaneki, he's like gonna race against another school, a rival greaser gang from another school, and how he's really into that, and they're building the car from scratch because they don't have a car. Also subplots about how like Frenchie is dropping out of school because she wants to go to beauty school. She finds it no need to finish high school because she just wants to go to beauty school and start working. That doesn't go her way, and she doesn't know what to do, so she goes back to high school. Little subplots like that didn't ruin the flow of the movie. It didn't feel unnecessary, and it didn't oversaturate the movie, and it actually managed to give more character to these characters, which was very good. And then acting and singing was very good. It was okay. There wasn't terrible moments. There wasn't Oscar nominee worthy moments, but it was a good. Now the reason I'm here yapping my fucking mouth off is this movie, the sequel, Grease 2. Now Grease 2 is the same thing. It's a romance comedy, drama, musical, melodrama related to teen stuff. Now, the budget, I mean, like I said, the first movie when it came out, they made it with $6 million and it grew $360 million. And for a while, it was the highest grossing musical. So they were like, okay, let's double the amount of money that we gave last time. So they made a budget with $12 million and they only got back 15 million. So they got their money back and they even got some pocket change. But it was not what they anticipated and were hoping for. This came out 4 years later in June 11th, 1982, 4 years after the release of the first Grease. So they kind of let it marinate, which is funny because you had 4 years to make a good screenwriting, find good directors and stuff like that. Like you had 4 years to kind of prep for this, and you still couldn't come up with a good movie. It's pretty funny, and you had to double the budget from the previous movie. But everybody, but the director was Patricia Birch, and it was starring Michelle Pfeiffer, Christopher McDonald, Maxwell Clofield, and Diddy Kong. Not Diddy Kong, but Diddy Kong. For those who don't know, Diddy Kong is Frenchy, so we'll get into that right now. What about it? So, what's the plot of this fucking movie? What's the haps? So, the plot of this movie is that it sets 2 years after the ending of the first one. The first movie ended with all of them graduating, all of them being like, "What's next for high school? What's gonna happen to our friend group? Like, are we gonna hang out like we used to? Because we're not gonna be in high school anymore." And then being kind of like optimistic and being like, you know what, we're homies, we're friends, we're always gonna be together. So this set 2 years after that, and the plot is this nerdy British cousin of Sandy. He's not Australian for whatever reason. They just thought to make him British, but it's a British cousin of Sandy's who's transferring from England to the U.S. to Rydell High, just like her, to finish his senior year here. And he falls in love, like slowly starts falling in love for the new leader of the Pink Ladies, Stephanie. Her name is Stephanie. But the problem is that Stephanie not only is into the opposite of him, which is like a badass, dangerous rebel of a man, but also, even if he was that, he has to become a T-Bird in order for them to be allowed to be together. Now, what ruined it? So this is where we're gonna get into the stuff. Now, key things is starting and using and the use of storytelling with the musical moments. So, contrary to the first film where I said the musical moments started naturally and ended naturally, and it helped with the flow of the movie and didn't wasn't like off topic, and it actually helped storytelling wise. Here it doesn't. It just feels like these random key moments where they're singing and they're entering a musical thing feels so out of pocket, so random, except for three of them. And two of them I don't even count because those two were in a talent show scenario. Like part of this movie is that there's a talent show going on. Winners get 100 records, which at the time, it's fucking crazy. I mean, I would go crazy even today. I can't even imagine in the 50s. But that there's a talent show. So two of those moments where they're singing and doing a musical scene is during a talent show about singing. So it's like I don't even count those moments really. So really, there's only one moment where I was like, oh, this is a good musical moment. But every other moment, it just felt so inorganic, so out of left field. Like it would just come out of nowhere in the sense of like, you're like, really? We're going to make a musical note about this topic at this scene? And they made up the drama of T-Birds and Pink Ladies. That's another key thing that is actually the biggest driving force of the whole drama of this movie. Like I said, Michael, he's smart. Shakespeare, they call him Shakespeare in the fucking film. He's a smart, shy, attractive young man who's good at school and stuff. But Stephanie, who he's in love with or falling for, is attracted to bad boys and stuff. But part of the drama that they added to that is that he even tells her like, oh, well, what if I could be that? What if I could turn into the bad boy rebel? And she goes, it still wouldn't work because you're not a T-Bird. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking adding this for drama. I don't know who the fuck did this because it's nowhere near in the first movie. But apparently it's always been a thing that a pink lady cannot date somebody who isn't a T-Bird, and a T-Bird cannot date anybody who isn't affiliated with the pink ladies. So both crews, both cliques, can only date each other. I guess they could like mess around and like make out and have sex with other fucking people, but when it comes to like dating and being a couple and being seen with somebody, it has to be a T-Bird and it has to be a pink lady. And what pisses me off more is that Frenchie is back in this movie and she's the one to introduce this problem to Michael. Like she even tells Michael, "Oh, even if you do become the rebel bad boy that she wants, you still have to become a T-Bird because a pink lady can't be without a T-Bird." And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, this was never a thing in the first movie. Like, Danny is a T-Bird and Sandy is a fucking is hanging out with the Pink Ladies, but she's never became an official Pink Lady member, and they were dating. Like once they got past the her being like heartbroken that this guy is preferring the cool guy image over her, they get together for a bit, and it's like they were together and both parties didn't have a problem with it. They didn't have a problem with them being together despite him being a T-Bird and she's not a pink lady. So it's like I don't know why Frenchie is saying that, but I guess like they just wanted like someone from the first movie to be the one to bring that up. And Frenchie, for just a little rant about her, she's very in minute scenes, like just sprinkled in the movie, and it's very weird because she doesn't seem to be a teacher, but she doesn't seem to be a student either. And it's scary because it's like, if she's a student, why isn't she a leader of the Pink Ladies? You know, she was there before any of these girls, and she's older than them. Because, like I said, in the first movie, they're seniors, and now this takes 2 years later. In the timeline, it takes place 2 years later after all of them graduate. So she's a super fucking senior. She's like a super duper senior. How is she not the leader? But if she's a teacher, why the fuck is a teacher still repping and wearing her pink lady's jacket? Like, why is she repping the clique of the high school she's from? So it's like, I don't know. Frenchie's character for some reason is implemented in this, and I don't know why. They just didn't even know what to do with her. But forgettable main guy love interest, aka your boy Michael. Like I said, Michael, his whole storyline is that he's trying to become a bad boy. For some reason, they're not into cars. Like, subplot about this movie is not about cars, it's about bikes. So he decides, hey, you know what? Make I'm gonna do the homework for the T-Bird guys, and the T-Bird guys for some reason are like, we can't be seen with you, you know. So keep this on the down low, homie. They're treating it like a drug deal, when all of this kid's just staying up late, doing their homework, and them paying him for it. But he saves up money. He goes to a junkyard. He gives the money to him, and the guy goes, "You have all the parts you need to build the bike. Build the bike you want, you know." And he goes, and as he's building it, he's also learning how to ride it like a cool guy. You know, he's doing wheelies and stuff like that. But he's so fucking forgettable, man. You know, this fool's fucking forgettable as shit. There's so many moments where he's barely in the movie, and they're more focused on the T-Bird crew, like Johnny, who's the new like supposed leader of the crew of the T-Birds, and his new three guys in the gang, and the new ladies. And it's like they're more focused on them and the drama of Johnny trying to be with Stephanie, but Stephanie not wanting to be with him. But she's kind of like, the drama is that like she doesn't want to be with Johnny, but she can't be with someone else because Johnny is a T-Bird and she can't date outside being another T-Bird guy. So it's like they were like more focused on that than their main, like, this motherfucker's in all the posters. Why is we're not focusing on him? And then you have the moments where he is in a scene and they start singing and stuff, or they start talking, and he's barely active. He's not dancing, he's not singing, he's not talking. So it's like, why do we have him here? So fucking forgettable. And for some reason, like, we never got to see Sandy's family or the house she was staying in. But it was told like she's here with her family and she's living in their house. This was here, and he's not only living in the school, but he's living in like this fucking nuclear bunker type thing with like by himself in the school. It makes no fucking sense. And it's just so bizarre to just be like, It just kind of feels like they were like, oh, we'll just move past it. They won't even realize that we're implying that this is where he lives. It's so fucking random. Another thing is the terrible singing moments. Like I said, there was only 3 moments, but realistically, there was only one moment where the starting of the singing felt natural. It felt um, like it didn't come out of left field. It's not about a random topic. It comes naturally. The singing is good. The lyrics are good. The rhythm is good. And then it fades away good. And that scene is a scene where the new hangout spot is this bowling alley. And the rival greaser gang from the T-Birds pull up, and it's like 20 of motherfuckers on motorcycles, led by the first guy who's the rival in the first movie. So this motherfucker's like Frenchie. He's like a super duper fucking senior as well, messing with these high school kids. And he's outside the bowling alley, and they're about to jump a T-Bird guy. So all the T-Birds go outside, and they're like, "Damn, there's 20 of these motherfuckers." Like, I'm not joking. Like, I'm probably lowballing it. There's probably like 30 guys there on bikes. And then out of nowhere from left field, Michael was gonna come surprise Stephanie as a bad boy. So he has this super nice motorcycle that's all black with red flames in the middle, and he's all greased her up. He has the pants, the black pants, white shirt, the leather jacket, and he has this black helmet, and he's wearing these goggles. And he comes in like a badass, and he's beating up these 30 guys by not even touching them. He's just doing donuts and ollies and fucking driving around them, and they're just crashing into things, and they're like, fuck, we can't deal with him, you guys will get it next time, and they drive off because the cops come. And then I don't know how he does it. He like jumps over a cop car without a fucking ramp being there or something to ramp up to, so he just flies on top of the fucking car. And Stephanie falls in love with him, but she doesn't know it's Michael. And part of the plot is that Michael wants to tell her, but he gets so nervous every time. So he keeps coming as this guy, this mystery biker dude. But that was the only scene where I was like, okay, the music for while he was doing this old shit of beating up the other rival greaser gang was alright. And my last point, and it may sound weird and it could be shocking, but this movie was horny for no fucking reason. Like, I'm not fucking kidding. Like, if you're watching this video, look at my mouse. This woman right here is fucking super attractive. Granted, I am into older women. Little fun fact for you fuckers. But this woman's super attractive. But it was like they purposely hired this woman, and her character is purposely supposed to be like a super sexy teacher MILF, like a cougar. And she's actively flirting with the T-Birds and other students, and the T-Birds are actively flirting with her. They're like, she like enters a room and they're like whistling at her, and they're going like, they're catcalling her, and she just smiles. And it's like, what the fuck? And then she's flirting with like this new health teacher guy, and the health teacher guy's flirting with her. And then the health teacher guy is flirting with one of the pink ladies because the pink lady's flirting with him. And then right here, follow my mouse, we have this little lady right here. She's supposed to be a wannabe, like the future of the pink ladies. She's like, oh, my goal is to be the leader by the time I'm a senior. I want to be the leader of the pink ladies. But she's like 12. She's like 12 or 13 years old. And there's a scene where Michael, before he picks up the bad boy biker, mystery biker dude profile, he tries to go and convince Stephanie to, like, if he could hang out with them so he could get close to becoming a T-Bird. They all leave. She's there by herself with him, and they start walking together, and he's asking her stuff about Stephanie and the pink ladies, and like, he's trying to get information, like what can he do to get with her. And she just kind of does the same thing, like, hey, you gotta be a bad boy T-Bird guy. And she goes, I better get home. And she's about to start skating home, and he's like, well, it's kind of dark, it's late and it's dark, I'll take you. And she's like, I don't need a fucking baby. Hey, what you doing? I don't need a fucking babysitter, And he's like, his fucking response for some reason, as a fucking guy who's literally about to become a young adult, to this 12, 13-year-old girl in dark is like, well, don't think of it that way. Think of it like a date. And she goes, oh, all right, you should have started there. And he like does that thing with your hand so that the woman could wrap hers around and you guys could walk like that. And they do that, and he just starts walking away with this girl. And it's like, what the fuck? And then at the end of the movie, where he finally reveals himself to be the mystery biker dude that Stephanie was creaming her fucking panties over, and he gets accepted for some reason by Johnny. Johnny just has a change of heart, makes him a T-Bird, even gives him his own jacket to make him a T-Bird, and is like, yeah, you could be with her. And then he gets with the side chick that he's been being disrespectful and like being an asshole towards this whole time, who's Stephanie's friend, another pink lady. But during that scene, the little girl comes in between Stephanie and Michael and is like, Michael, I'm sorry to tell you this, but we can't be together. We can't be a thing anymore. She's like, I got a new man. And she comes dragging this motherfucker right here, who's a senior T-Bird guy. And he's letting himself. And she's like, I got a new man. And then Michael leans in, whispers something in her ear that we can't. And she goes, oh, okay. And she winks at him and leaves. So it's like, what the fuck were we doing? And then I'm not joking. Like 85% of all the musical scenes in this movie were about sex. Or about trying to fuck somebody. Was trying to fuck this person. I can't control my... Like, I'm not joking. Vast majority of these fucking musical keynotes and the lyrics and the songs and like the purpose of why they're singing was because of sex. So I don't know who the fuck was behind this department of script writing and or green lighting ideas, but this movie was so much hornier than it needed to be. And to me that was just like what ruined it. It was just like, what the fuck are we doing? You know? And that goes to show you, I mean, like some movies you you have to really give it the love in order to make a sequel. Don't try to make a copy of it and not even try to copy it right. It's like when you give your homework to your homie, to your homegirl, and be like, oh, like here, you could copy my shit. And you get like a good grade on it, and they get a fucking dumbass shitty grade, and you're like, how the fuck did you fuck that up? Like, I literally gave you the answers. All you had to do was just copy them down. And they're just like, I don't know, man. Shit happens. That's what this movie felt like. They had the blueprint and the answers of like, what can they do to make another successful movie, even if it didn't do half of the first movie, but if it was still a successful sequel and a likable sequel. But it's like they didn't even like seem to try. They wanted to make like two movies at once, or they had so many random ideas that they were like, all these are good ideas, but we don't have the recipe to combine them to make it flow, but we're just gonna throw them in there, we'll figure it out. And they just never figured it out. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. That's the end of my yap session. I've yapped long enough. um like I said earlier in the video, be on the lookout for playlists like that. This one's gonna be the first video of a new playlist, and I have other playlists than mine, but I want to make other videos. But yeah, enough yapping. Thank you. Subscribe if you're new and you haven't. If you liked my videos, make sure to check out my other videos. And thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this. God bless, and I'll see you next time.